All right, hello, good evening, and welcome into a Monday edition of KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by Gabe Swartz as we set the table for a big week ahead in the local sports world. Gabe, we're going to start talking about some playoff football. I assume you watched some of that. That was a good
I
weekend
did.
that we just saw. How did you think of that?
It was one of the best football weekends that we've gotten in terms of competitive football, especially if you factor in Friday night's college football game was not competitive. Thursday's was. So if you were afforded the luxury of turning on the TV this weekend to watch football, you more likely than not got to watch a really good game. And that's something that does not happen very often during Wild Card Weekend. Like Wild Card Weekend, a lot of people made fun of when they added the seventh playoff team, and the NFL initially labeled it Super Wild Card Weekend, and everybody was like, "There's nothing super about this. Like the 2 seed usually just blasts the 7 seed, the 3 seed usually blasts the 6 seed, and then maybe we get a competitive game between the 4 and 5." That was not the case this weekend. It was awesome football pretty much throughout.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I feel like at least locally, one of the big storylines we were hearing, at least as it relates to the Chiefs and this year's NFL playoffs, was that it was the first time we weren't going to see the Chiefs in the playoffs since 2014, and one of those big storylines was that the NFL world was going to miss the Chiefs. Like, teams wanted to beat Patrick Mahomes, teams wanted to beat Andy Reid, teams wanted to beat Travis Kelce, but then we had one of the best, as Gabe said, one of the best wild card weekends I think we've seen in recent memory. So here we're going to go through some of the results. On the AFC side, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills went down to Jacksonville, took on Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. The Jaguars were actually 1.5-point underdogs, I believe, in that game. The Bills go on to win that one 27-24. Josh Allen 28 of 35 for 273 yards and a touchdown. On the flip side of that matchup, his counterpart, Trevor Lawrence, who many expected to potentially take a big leap, especially this postseason, 18 of 30, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. In the other matchup that we saw so far in the AFC, the Patriots beat the LA Chargers 16-3. Drake May 268 yards passing, 66 more on the ground, and a touchdown. Justin Herbert, no protection, sacked 6 times, just 159 yards passing. Gabe, what were maybe your big takeaways here from the first 2 games? Because I know they're really trying to build up maybe a clash of new quarterbacks, but I think we saw maybe the name brand that's in the playoffs, Josh Allen, get a victory. And then, Justin Herbert, what do we say about him? No protection and still no playoff wins for him.
No protection, but he also missed open receiver. Like, there were guys open and there were throws that were missed. And I know if you're someone whose Twitter feed consists of people who put out NFL All-22 film, you would see that the second play of the game, he had Ladd McConkey so wide open, he doesn't throw it to him. He runs for 9 yards. That at the end of the play, Ladd McConkey looks around behind him. He's like, there must have been a safety behind me, and there was no one even remotely in the area. It was shocking, and that was the least competitive game of the weekend, mostly because the Chargers' offense could do nothing. The Josh Allen thing, that was one of the best performances of the weekend, and I think that you can make a case that those were the 2 best teams in the AFC playing in Jacksonville.
Tony Romo, I think, was making that case.
Yeah, and Tony had a day. I don't know if I want to put an adjective in front of the day, but he had a day. And I can't wait to see what the rest of the weekend looks like, or next weekend. I can't wait to see Steelers-Texans tonight and see if Aaron Rodgers has the magic to pull off the upset despite being the home team. He is the home underdog again tonight. And now this next weekend, here's a take that has nothing to do with the actual game on the field, but is more of a sports media take. Bills-Broncos next weekend. I truly believe that will be far and away, aside from Denver and Buffalo, like the local markets of those 2 teams, the city or the DMA that will have the highest viewership for that game will be Kansas City. Because one way or another, people will be watching, rooting against one or the other teams. And I think that just based on familiarity, division rival, and respected playoff rival that the Chiefs have played several times and have played literally every year since 2020, just a lot of familiarity. Kansas City people, the one game that they will, I mean, Kansas City people watch NFL playoffs regardless, but that game will get a crazy number in Kansas City.
No, there's definitely going to be some hate watching here in Kansas City, but it wasn't just the AFC, obviously, in the playoffs. I think maybe some of the biggest news out of this weekend is that each conference will have a new champion. Obviously, the Chiefs not making it to the playoffs, but on the NFC side of this playoff bracket, the 49ers went to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles 23-19. Philadelphia had a chance to win that game late, but the defending Super Bowl champions are also now out of the playoffs. And some of the other action we saw out there, what a great game we had Saturday night between Chicago and the Green Bay Packers. Chicago under first-year head coach Ben Johnson making it to the playoffs, what a comeback we saw. Caleb Williams making some unbelievable throws. Chicago showing comeback that I don't think a lot of people in the NFL thought they had in them, but they went out there, they proved it against a very good football team. And then how about this one? The Carolina Panthers entered the playoffs with an 8-9 record, but obviously the NFC South Division champions. They go toe-to-toe with what many people thought was potentially the best team in the league, a first-team All-Pro at quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Gabe, on the NFC side, any big surprises for you there? Because I was surprised the Rams were in a dogfight, also surprised by the Bears comeback, also surprised by the 49ers win. What was your surprise?
I actually think of all three results, the way that the Bears game panned out wasn't as yes, the actual fourth quarter and the comeback itself was surprising, but I don't think that was as big of a blowout early on as the scoreboard indicated. The Bears were moving the ball. They turned it over in the red zone once. They turned it over in opponent territory another time, and they settled for field goals when they were otherwise moving the ball pretty well, and it was just kind of unlucky. And then at the end, the whole pendulum swung, and they just kind of did the exact same thing that they did to the Packers in mid-December, the last time that the two teams played. So it was a little bit of a repeat performance. You saw all of the things that Caleb Williams was believed to be special for and the reason that he was picked number one overall. I think that is one of the more exciting things that we got of the weekend is another quarterback stepping up to the plate in big moments. And I like to see, I love the fact that there's a real rivalry between the Bears and Packers, and the idea that Packers fans are upset because Ben Johnson is doing flyby handshakes on Matt LaFleur and he's saying in the locker room stuff that doesn't normally get out. And I think that's good. The Packers for so long, you had Aaron Rodgers, you had other members of the organization making comments about how they own the Bears and such, and now the Bears are doing it. And people in Green Bay are clutching their pearls and saying that this is ridiculous. So I think that excites me for beyond this year. As much as anything else. The Rams game, I honestly don't know if it's as shocking as anything else, because we've seen teams with losing records be competitive when you get that home game.
Yep.
It's such an advantage that it just keeps you in things, and they had a shot.
No, they certainly did, but I know this isn't necessarily the most original take, but it really does kind of feel like the more and more we see this throughout the playoffs or as the postseason kind of approach, we are seeing a little bit of a changing of the guard maybe in the quarterback world in the NFL, with Caleb Williams playing like he did on Saturday night. That is the beginning of how that's how it unfolds. That's what happened. So it was very cool to kind of see that. And then I really love what you said about the rivalry, because so much in the NFL, at least to me recently, the league has just become such a commercial product that we have not seen this true, genuine hate. A couple weeks ago, Neil Jones did a great story about how when the Raiders were in Oakland, they had a legitimate home field advantage, they had crazy fans, they were when fans were scared to go there, teams were scared to go there, but then they moved, to a dome stadium in Las Vegas. They lost a lot of their fans, and that it just became kind of a sterile environment. And I feel like you could say that's happened a lot around the league, but to see the juice of that NFC North rivalry, obviously one of the oldest in all of football, pro football, very cool to see what's going on out there. Now, elsewhere, other stuff to talk about today, the coaching carousel continues to revolve here in the National Football League, and the Chiefs are really, they're very involved in this, although their head coach is not going anywhere. Offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, obviously not under contract with the Chiefs going on now that the season is over for Kansas City. He has been linked to head coach interviews with the Ravens, Cardinals, Raiders, and Titans. And then obviously defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, he could be on the move. He has been linked to interviews with the Titans, Giants, Raiders, and Cardinals. Now, I bring both of these guys up because they're potential head coach candidates, Gabe. Matt Nagy, in his career, 34-31 record as a head football coach when he was 4 years with the Chicago Bears, 0-2 in the playoffs, but he did make 2 playoff appearances. Steve Spagnuolo had an 11-41 record as an NFL head coach with the St. Louis Rams and also as an interim head coach. Here's my question for you, Gabe. If you were an NFL franchise, maybe one of these ones that's interviewed both of them, who do you think would make a better head coach, Matt Nagy or Steve Spagnuolo? Because I think there's a very interesting case on either side of this matchup. What do you think?
So in this hypothetical, it's an either or.
Well, if you had to pick one or the other.
If I have to pick one of the two.
Yeah. We're going to put them against each other, absolutely.
If we have to pick one of the two, this is crazy. I think I would pick Nagy.
Absolutely, I would also.
And that is because, I mean, he won. He had Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback. So it's not like he had the best situation in terms of organizational roster. Now, yes, the Bears had an awesome defense, and you can say he made a great hire. He had Vic Fangio as his defensive coordinator, and we've seen I think Chiefs fans are well aware of how good Vic Fangio has been because he's been with the Eagles. He's been with the Broncos. People are very familiar in terms of what he has done across the league as a defensive coordinator, and is kind of similar to Spagnuolo in terms of really good defensive coordinator, has never had a ton of success as a head coach. Spagnuolo, though, it's like if he's going to be a head coach, one of the things that he is best at is defensive game planning and calling defenses. How many head coaches across the league actually do that when they're the head coach? Not as many. I mean, Mike McDonald does it in Seattle, and he's really, really good at it. I don't know if DeMeco Ryans is the defensive play caller or not for the Texans, but he is a defensive-minded guy.
Mike Zimmer used to do it when I was in Minnesota.
There you go. So it's hit or miss, but if you hire Spagnuolo and then you have a quarterback to develop, you have to hit on offensive coordinator. And then we've seen things with like the Texans, for example. If you have a great defensive coach and you have a young quarterback, you're a little bit reliant upon your offensive coordinator being good enough to be productive on the offense, but not great enough to consistently get stolen away and go to other franchises. So I don't think either are great options for anybody. I would be fascinated to see Matt Nagy get another job. I think that him getting the Ravens job would be crazy and would be – I would love to see that happen just to see the result, not to know whether it would go well or not. But there's so much going on, and I think that of the like Chiefs related news, the how quiet it has been on the offensive coordinator search scares me a little bit that they're just going to bring Eric Bieniemy back.
They're going to hire, in my opinion, obviously I'm not reporting anything here. This is purely my opinion.
Speculation.
The Chiefs on offense are going to hire someone that they know, someone that Andy Reid has worked with. They are not going to reinvent the wheel because I believe in their minds, and I mean, they've won 3 Super Bowls in the last however many years. They have no need to reinvent that wheel, but I'm very interested to see where
that's so ignorant.
That's definitely how the outside world views it, but I'm telling you, inside that building, I mean, they don't really listen to what people out here think. They think everyone outside the building is a moron, and they would be right in thinking that they know more about football than anybody else, especially a lot of these armchair Twitter quarterbacks. But I do have to say, Matt Nagy, I think he's much more likely to become a head coach than Steve Spagnuolo, especially just because, as many of the things that Gabe was saying, in the context of the modern NFL, that's how teams and owners and general managers are going to make this decision. And in this decision, they have to factor in the fact that they are likely going to have to pay, if they find one, a franchise quarterback $50 to $60 million a year. And if they don't do that, they're going to try to draft one in the first round. And if you're going to invest so much in that quarterback, you're probably going to want your head coach to not only be an offensive-minded guy, but also be a guy who works with the quarterback. So that's a guy that Matt Nagy, he's done that in his career, and he has been very good at that in his career. And I also think that was a potential problem for Eric Bieniemy and his pursuit of trying to become a big offensive coordinator or potentially a head coach somewhere is, again, if you are going to invest $50 to $60 million in a quarterback. You don't want your offensive coordinator to be a running back coach, but we'll see kind of what happens there on the Chiefs side of that. But for the sake of argument, I know you picked Matt Nagy. I'm going to say that Steve Spagnuolo has a chance to be a better head coach this time around, just for the sake of argument. But the reason that I say this is look at what's happened here in Kansas City. Neil Jones brings this up all the time. The Chiefs were obviously very good when Andy Reid came to town, but they did not start winning Super Bowls until Steve Spagnuolo arrived in Kansas City. The Chiefs had Bob Sutton as their defensive coordinator, and the Chiefs had good offense. They did have Alex Smith. They had Patrick Mahomes, but they weren't able to kind of get over that hump. Introduced Steve Spagnuolo, who is the only coordinator in league history to win 4 Super Bowl titles. I mean, there are lessons that he's learned under Andy Reid that I think he can take to another organization where it will be different this time around. Also, I mentioned his record, 11-41 as a head football coach. Who are his quarterbacks? He had Kyle Bowler, I believe, as one of the quarterbacks, and then Sam Bradford, a rookie out there, obviously made a glass when he was with the St. Louis Rams. So Steve Spagnuolo, was his record good when he was a head coach? No. Do I think he's learned a lot from the Super Bowl runs here in Kansas City? Yes. Do I think he could be a successful head coach in the future? Yes. But just as Gabe said, if you're going to hire a defensive head coach, you're going to have to hire a hotshot play caller. And if you do, I mean, and you hit on that guy, Gabe, what's the max that guy stays there? 1 to 2 years before he becomes a head coach? Yeah.
I think that the thing with, like, yes.
Oh, Spags, I saw you when you said Spags coming to Kansas City. What's the but?
He was so much better than Bob Sutton, so much better in terms of like big game success. But the frustrating thing, I think that we've gotten this, at least on the internet, the revisionist history of what the Chiefs dynasty has been, to me, is wild. 2023 broke a lot of people's brains because the Chiefs had an elite defense one time, and the Chiefs defense helped them to a Super Bowl. I wouldn't say it carried them to a Super Bowl. They still gave up 24 on the road to Buffalo. They still gave up multiple leads in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl against the 49ers, and the offense had to go back and dig out of deficits multiple times. So a little bit overstated. I would say that he is a great situational game plan coach. He has not had a track record of having like elite defense. By the EPA per play metrics, by a lot of metrics, they've been a very average defense more often than not. And if you want to say the personnel stinks or they haven't had the pass rusher or all of those kinds of things, I would counter that with, I think Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid have a lot of voice in terms of what kind of defensive players that they bring into the organization. So there's all those kinds of things.
I agree.
I'm not trying to drag the guy down. I just would say it's convenient for him that he came into the Chiefs organization in year 2 of Mahomes starting, right when he leveled up and got going. But the last thing I'll say on coaching, and this is not Chiefs related, it could be. I think some people would love him as an offensive coordinator candidate. Today, report comes out from Adam Schefter that Nate Scheelhaase, Rockhurst alum,
love that you said this,
Los Angeles Rams passing game coordinator, has been with the Rams, number 1 pass offense, number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, MVP favorite Matt Stafford.
First team All-Pro Matt Stafford.
First team All-Pro, MVP favorite, first team All-Pro, and he's been in the Sean McVay system for 2 years now, interviewing with 3 teams, the Ravens,
Browns,
the Browns, and the Raiders.
Yep. No, so cool to see
so
that.
He's out there.
Local guy looking for a new job, probably going to – I mean, he's in the mix, I believe, to be a head coach in some of these opportunities, so very kind of cool to see what's going on there. Nathan Scheelhaase, a Rockhurst Hawklet. Shout out to him. We will be following his career every step of the way, and obviously as a Kansas City guy, we're going to cheer him on, and maybe if he comes here to Kansas City, not saying that's in the cards, not even saying that's a possibility, but if he did, we would definitely cheer that move on. But hey, guys, there's more to talk about just football. We have 10 minutes and about 3 topics left. We're going to start with the Kansas Jayhawks. Today, they dropped out of the AP Top 25 for the second time this season. The KU is now 1-2 in Big 12 play for the first time. Gabe, I can't believe this. Since 2005, 2006. Darren Peterson's cramping issues have come up again at the end of some of these games. Recently, there was a lot of TV coverage of it against TCU, and then today, Bill Self said it also came up in the loss at West Virginia. Gabe, KU and a lot of the KU fans, there's a lot of KU alums that work here in this building. I don't think any of them imagine that KU would be unranked at this point of the season when they have arguably the potential number one pick in the NBA draft, arguably the best player in all of college basketball. Are you surprised, quickly here, that KU is at this point?
Yes and no. The concerning part is that Bill Self had a quote in West Virginia on Saturday that the league is and then he said something that I'm not allowed to say on this program.
Yep. Keep your job. Don't say it.
That in the first 3 games, they've played UCF, TCU, and West Virginia. West Virginia is one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. UCF is a good, not great team that's a fringe-ranked team that you could say that KU is more talented than, all those kinds of things. TCU, it took a literal miracle to beat them. And this was supposed to be one of the easier portions of the schedule. And you bring up the cramps. The cramps are concerning, but more concerning than the cramps is that even when he has been out there, they haven't gelled yet, and they haven't looked good in the half court offense is just not working. And I think that's the frustrating thing. The foul trouble this weekend with Badunga and Tiller, it's like they're just not deep enough in the front court, it seems. And I think that's particularly worrisome against the top of this league, like specifically the BYUs and Arizonas of the league that are front court heavy teams. Tomorrow night, 3.5-point underdogs at home.
Allen Fieldhouse. And
that's despite knowing that Peterson will play in some capacity. And this is a really good Iowa State team. Undefeated team. They've already won at Purdue this year, so it is a tall task, but it's close to a must-win in terms of like not the season falling apart.
Yeah, tough season so far right now for KU. I don't think they expected to be at this point where they are in conference play. One thing that I did think was interesting after the loss at West Virginia, Bill Self said that KU in the past, when they were really at the peak of their powers, liked to run a 9-man rotation. But Bill Self said that we're not bringing pros off the bench anymore. He's like, let's just say it what it is. Like, the depth of this KU team is not what the fans and program are used to seeing of maybe what it was 10, 15 years ago. The landscape of college basketball has made it where, talent is spread out, and it's harder to overmatch teams with talent alone. So we'll see kind of how KU responds. A big game tomorrow against number 2 Iowa State right there at Allen Fieldhouse. All right, big news today in the world of golf, actually. Surprising that we're talking about that here on this program. But today, 5-time major champion Brooks Koepka on the PGA Tour announced that Brooks will be returning to the PGA Tour. He did play on the Live Golf Tour for the last 4 years. Live Golf, obviously backed by the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. Now, Brooks Koepka will have to face significant financial penalties. He also must pay $5 million to charity. Now, the PGA Tour, in response to this, in their ongoing battle with Live Golf, has announced a returning member program. But it's not really a program because only three players fit into the criteria. The criteria was you had to have won any of the 4 majors or basically the 5th biggest tournament in golf, the Players' Championship, from 2022 to 2025. And the only players in Live Golf that qualify for that are Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, and Cam Smith, who's from Australia and won the 150th Open Championship at the Old Course St. Andrews, probably the most historic venue in all of golf. Mm-hmm. Gabe, those 3 players must decide by February 2nd if they want to leave Live Golf somehow. I don't know how those contracts work. I would not want to get involved in a court hearing with that in the Saudi government. But is this the end for Live Golf? Because, Brooks Koepka was one of their big stars. He won a major championship in 2023, and he's basically said, Live Golf is not for me, and I'm coming back.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the end because I don't know if any of the other 3, the selected invited crew, will take the offer. I think that of the 3, the most likely to would be Rahm, just based on the way that he has not – I wouldn't say that he's embraced Live Golf in the way that in the same way that Brooks Koepka did not. Brooks Koepka was a captain. He didn't wear his team gear, and you can say how.
And he was a 20% owner of that team. He didn't wear anything repping.
Yeah, you could say how corny it was or how
he
gimmicky it was.
He openly complained about the tour on social media at times. Like, I know one year the Live Golf schedule wasn't released, and Brooks Koepka was like, "Where's the schedule? Like, the season starts in 2 weeks." Like, you could see what was going on there. To me, though, what's really interesting though is just if you said, like, say Jon Rahm does come back to the PGA Tour. Not saying that would happen, but if, in a hypothetical world, if that would happen, Bryson DeChambeau, he could go to the people in charge of Live Golf, the Saudi investment fund, and say, if you guys want to keep this thing going, I am your biggest star, and I'm
your only star.
Hundreds of millions, if not, like, he could be like, I want $1 billion, otherwise this league will fold. And if he left, like, no one watches Live Golf right now. And if you take out the biggest star, Bryson DeChambeau, I don't think anyone would watch.
And I think that Bryson's frustrated because he is a massive YouTube star, and he can say, guys, I am a draw, and yet no one watches our product. So someone within Live Golf is failing me personally, if I was Bryson, because I'm supposed to be this draw and no one wants to watch. So it's not a me problem, it's a you guys problem. I think that frustrates him.
Well, I think you could also say that right now that Live Golf, I mean, it's been 4 or 5 years since the league was incepted. It sold these players a straight up bill of goods. I mean, obviously it gave select players tens, 50, hundreds of millions of dollars, but they told these guys, you're going to get world ranking points. You're going to be able to compete in the majors. You're going to be able to play on other tours. And none of those things turned out to be true. So I think, now hindsight is 2020. Brooks Koepka said, you guys told me a bunch of things that didn't end up to be true. I'm out. Yeah. And I think some of these other big stars might say that.
Last thing, Brooks Koepka's return to the PGA Tour, company man, required to say it, the Farmers Insurance Open on CBS. And
in 2 weeks.
The Waste Management Phoenix Open, great tournament, great people, great event, love it. Obligated to say that as a 4-year resident of Arizona. He would also be on CBS. So if you want to watch Brooks Koepka come back to the PGA Tour, you don't have to go to any of the crazy off channels that Live Golf plays on.
Right here, live
Network
on
TV.
Channel 5,
there
baby.
You go.
Live on Channel 5. That's where you're going to see the best golfers in the world compete on CBS on the weekends. A few odds and ends here to clean up. We have about 3 minutes left here. Kansas City. The Kansas City Roos will have a new men's basketball head coach next year. Marvin Menzies, their current head coach, will finish out the year with the Roos, but the Roos 4-14 this year. I believe just one win against a Division I opponent. 44-71 in 4 years under Menzies. So hopefully the Roos can find the right guy there to lead the program. Obviously kind of a unique situation, a unique program there to lead, but always fun when the Roos are having a competitive basketball team. And then one more here. Kansas State University is hiring Sean Gleason to be the offensive coordinator under Colin Klein. Gleason brings 19 years of experience to Manhattan. He's been the OC and quarterbacks coach at both Oklahoma State and Rutgers in the past, as we're really beginning to see the staff of head coach Colin Klein kind of get assembled out there in K-State. But Gabe, early on here in the Colin Klein tenure, I mean, obviously I don't know if there's anything bad to say, but it seems like K-State is kind of finding their vision, finding their identity, and moving forward. Yeah,
they're filling the staff out, and today they made a addition in the transfer portal, Jay Harris, running back, Oregon. Odd to see a guy who played on Friday night and played basically exclusively because Oregon's team was so injured at running back they had to go to a guy and say, we know you're in the transfer portal. Do you want to play in this game? And now he's coming to Manhattan. So the whole thing is starting to take shape in Manhattan, and is I think that is honestly locally here one of the biggest storylines in 2026 in terms of this local college and local sports beat in general, is just how does year one of Colin Klein go? And we're seeing it start here now.
Well, I think he learned probably a lot of big lessons at Texas A&M about how to run a program in the modern era of college football. I mean, they've been spending big in NIL. They've been big in transfer portal spenders. I think it's good to see K-State make an addition like that. Obviously, I mean, he was playing for Oregon just a couple days ago, and now he's going to suit up for the Cats next year. That's modern college football. I mean, that Colin Klein, that's the definition of like that's just what you got to do in this day and age to compete. Good to see that K-State's doing stuff like that. But hey, guys, be sure to stick with us here on KCTV5 tonight at 6 and 10 p.m. At 10 p.m., Marlia Campbell has a pretty cool story about Chiefs long snapper Kendall Gammon doing a little Dancing with the Stars, Kansas City Stars edition. So that'll be cool to see all of that. And then obviously KU's big game tomorrow, number 2 Iowa State coming to Allen Fieldhouse. We will continue to preview that tonight at 6 and 10 and also coming up tomorrow. But for now, that's a look at sports here on this Monday night. Take care, everybody.